It's Tuesday, February 13th. I'm Scott.
And I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review the awesome board game Thurn and Taxis.
Let's do this. So while we're sitting here in the Geek House recording in the studio, you'll be pleased to know that outside there is currently a quivering maelstrom of snow.
Did it actually start snowing yet?
It's been snowing for the last hour and a half.
Oh, I haven't looked at it. Like, I had my window open so I would see the snow start, but I guess I haven't looked out the window when it started.
In fact, after we ate that salad, I looked out the window like as I was finishing up, and I said, hey, I don't think it started snowing yet. Then I looked and I saw, oh, it in fact just started snowing.
Yeah. You know, when you live across from a car dealer, it's actually pretty useful, because when there's going to be a crazy storm, they move all the cars into an optimal configuration.
Yep. The thing is, I had no idea there was bad weather coming. I'm at work, doing my work stuff. I'm planning on leaving. And then all day, people keep making references to like, man, is it going to snow? I don't know. Something about snow. Snow, snow, snow. But no one said outright, the weather said it's going to snow. And I don't like to make small talk, so I blew these people off and ignored them. And it didn't look like it was going to snow. In fact, it was really warm. I took a short nap in my car.
Yeah, it was pretty warm today. I mean, I drove to the dentist and I found out about the snow from the dentist's office.
Oh, yeah, because you always get small talk at the dentist.
Yeah.
But no, instead of taking lunch, I just took a nap in my car for a half hour, 45 minutes or so, and I was plenty warm without running the car or anything.
Yeah.
And it was nice and whatever, and then just as I'm about to leave work, I look outside, and suddenly it's really gray out.
Yeah, it was super gray most of the day here.
So I go on to, NOAA.gov, and it says, horrible snow, next couple days.
Yeah, they're big red letters. Whenever something's written in red, that's bad.
So then I'm like, all right, horrible snow in Yonkers. And then I check Beacon. Oh, horrible snow in Beacon. And then I check D.C., because now I'm worried about driving to Katsukan.
Yeah, now I'm worried. If the snow, I don't mind if it snows tomorrow. If it stays shitty bad on Thursday, that's going to suck. We're going to have to drive to D.C. really slowly.
Thing is, we're not leaving.
It can't be as bad as the drive home from UberCon.
God, we should tell that story. Did we tell that story?
Have we told the story?
I don't know. Maybe we'll do
Someone
the special.
go and see if we've ever done a podcast about the drive back from UberCon.
Yeah, because we need a special for this Thursday anyway. If we haven't done it, we'll tell that story.
That sounds good.
Especially since we are going this weekend to Katsukan, which is famous for, 3, 4, 5 years? I forget how many years ago it was. Katsukan, it was the year before I went, so it was 3 years ago. Got snowed in.
Oh, crap. Getting snowed into a convention can either be awesome or terrible.
Now, I imagine...
if I was a convention and I got snowed in, I would just keep it rolling. At least the parts that didn't need any planning. Keep the video game open. Why not?
From what I heard, a lot of the people who went, it sucked for them because they, most people can't deal with having to take extra days out of your life suddenly.
Yeah, that does kind of suck.
I mean, calling your work...
I'm just lucky in that right now I'm in a situation where I don't have to work until March.
But imagine having to call a job and be like, hey, yeah, I'm down in Washington, D.C.
Snowed into a hotel.
I can't come back until Wednesday.
Yep.
Maybe.
That's pretty bad. But, when stuff like that happens, it's beyond your control. Just accept it and deal with it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get through with the least suffering.
Well,
if you just sit there worrying about it, it's going to be a long 2 days of trapped in the hotel.
Well, that's the kind of people we are. But also, remember, we have money. So whenever something like that happens, we are immediately prepared to deal with it. The credit card can always get us out of any situation like that.
That's why, Penn Jillette always has that thing where he won't go anywhere if he can't save his ass with money. It's like in the middle of the jungle in Africa. No, even if you're carrying all of Bill Gates' fortune in a briefcase, that won't save you if, a snake bites you or a gorilla attacks you. So he won't go there. He only goes places where money can save his ass, no matter what happens. Which I think is a good plan.
He also steals cars, but...
No, that's not the... Yep. Hopefully this bad weather will not affect our Katsukan plan. And hopefully you will get to Katsukan despite weather.
Yes, Katsukan is this weekend in Washington, D.C. at the Omni Showroom Hotel. You can find out all the information at, I believe, katsukan.com.
Just go to Google and type in Katsucon.
Yes, as in our friend Katsu and then Khan.
All one word.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to be staff in the video game room. We're going to be doing all sorts of crazy stuff, live shows, various tournaments, anime match game. It's going to be awesome.
Way awesome.
Also, we're going to have our DSs, and we just got Diddy Kong Racing, so we'll probably want to play that a little bit.
Yep, Diddy Kong Racing. it didn't meet my original expectations, but it beat my secondary, very much lowered expectations. So we'll talk about that in a couple weeks, probably.
Yep, but a lot of gaming, a lot of fun. We'll have some things to give away, but not things that any of you will probably want. They're mostly things for people who don't listen to the show yet.
Yep. Oh, and I think in the future of Geeknights, I don't want to be 100% sure on this, but there's a possibility that I might be acquiring something for free, which I will give away. That is worth substantial, but not incredibly large amounts of money.
Oh, really?
Yep.
This is news to me.
I know it is. I forgot to tell you.
Well, what is it? Are you not going to say?
I might as well just say it.
All right.
I'm probably going to buy this laptop because, I had to give my old one back to my job. And it's going to come with a perfectly free Creative Zen 512 megabyte MP3 player. And I don't need it.
We're going to have one hell of a fucking contest for that.
Yeah, the other thing is the reason I'm buying this laptop is there's a chance that the only thing that could be wrong with it where I would be dissatisfied would be if it's too slow. And I was lucky. I read the official return policy, the fine print. If I don't like it and I return it within 15 days, which I will do if it is too slow, I have to return the MP3 player also, or else I have to pay for it.
No.
So,
well, in that case, we'll just give away my Carcassonne instead.
Yeah, we're going to give that away no matter what. Weren't they going to give that away at Katsucon?
Yeah, for that Carcassonne, I was thinking about setting up a little booth in the video game room, a little table, kind of like those 3-card money guys that you see out on the street in really poor towns.
3-card money.
And, I'll just, you can come up, and if you wish, you can challenge me to a 2-player game of Carcassonne. And if you win, I will give you a brand new, unopened copy of Carcassonne. But if you lose, you have to buy me another copy of Carcassonne.
Yeah, we got that copy of Carcassonne real cheap, so why not buy another one?
Yeah.
Hey?
I don't know what we'll do, but we'll give it away at some point, either at the con or in the future. We'll probably bring a couple of board games to Katsucon, since we'll be in the gaming room, which is mostly video, but I'm sure we can supplement
we'll probably
that.
bring maybe Thurn and Taxis, maybe something smaller. Who knows? Maybe Dracula for the nighttime.
Ooh, that might be a good con game.
At nighttime, hells yeah.
That's the kind of game where you get a big enough crowd, and some people would be happy just to hang around and watch.
Yeah, the thing is it takes a little bit too long. If it was shorter, you could really get it going. Maybe Scotland Yard, who knows?
Yeah, well, as long as one of us was Dracula, and then one of us was teaching people as we went instead of we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Anyway, in the news, the Virtual Console has been, as it is always doing, having more and more games put on it in order to trick Scott and I into spending money on games we already own in multiple copies. And the 3 latest games are 2 absolutely fantastic games, though that is a very weighted statement, and 1 game that is not worth $5, but is definitely an important game.
Yep.
Ice Climber, I don't think I need to say anything about it. It's an old classic.
Ice Climber's fun. It's a classic, but it's not worth $5. It's worth maybe $1 because it's such a simple old game.
I'd wager that most people who play Nintendo systems today have never even seen Ice Climbers because this game is an old game.
It is real old. It came out. It was one of the first Nintendo releases. It was the old style box and everything.
Yep, Ice Climber was before the NES was really that popular.
Yeah, I put Ice Climber in there with say like Galaxian. It's a great old game, but it's so old and minimalist that it's not really worth paying for. It's like if they tried to put Pac-Man on there. Pac-Man is great. I love Pac-Man. Dig Dug is great. I love Dig Dug. But I'm not paying $5 for it because it's so simple. There's not much to it.
But I'll bet the only reason anyone knows about this game is because they put the characters in the GameCube Smash
I knew
Brothers.
about Ice Climbers way before.
Well, we did.
But yeah, most people, I imagine, heard about the Ice Climbers from Smash Brothers Melee and perhaps some other games recently they've made appearances in.
Because remember,
they don't know what game they're actually from.
We were pretty much the forefront of the Nintendo generation. I grew up on Nintendo to the exclusion of all other activity.
So if you have extra money, like you don't care, and you have never played Ice Climbers, that would be the only time I would recommend you pay $5 for it.
Or, emulate it, because it's not worth having on the Wii.
If you can, just emulate it.
Once you've played it twice, you'll be done playing it.
Unless you want to master it, which you might want to do.
No, you don't.
That would be pretty impressive. Someone mastered Ice Climber, little Ice Climber speed run.
It's not that hard to master Ice Climber.
I don't know. At the early levels, I can just whip them out. But later levels get pretty tricky.
Ice Climber is easier than Bubble Bobble.
It is easier than Bubble Bobble.
And I fucking beat Bubble Bobble all the way through as a kid.
You're a crazy man.
Yeah, me and my brother played that game forever.
I eventually just got tired of going through all those levels.
No, you know who does know about Ice Climbers? The guy who does VG Cats.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, there was Nice Climber joke a while ago.
All right.
Long
What
time
other
ago.
games came out? The two big ones.
All right, well, number one, Kirby's Adventure, which is probably the best Kirby game.
Kirby's Adventure is a game I had for the NES, and I beat the hell out of that game. I got every single secret, 100% completion. I beat everything. I got everything. There was nothing left for me in that game, and I did that on the NES, the original release of this game, and it is, without a doubt, the best Kirby game ever. Every Kirby game that came after took from Kirby's Adventure. I mean, there was Kirby's Dream Land, which is the original Kirby platform game for the Game Boy, but Kirby's Adventure was what really made Kirby, he swallows something and then he gets a power. You couldn't get powers in Kirby's Dream Land. Only in Kirby's Adventure could you get powers from eating different guys, and that's what made Kirby awesome.
See, I never owned Kirby's Adventure. I rented it once. I liked it. I gave it back. I never bought it. And I didn't really realize how great it actually was until when I was living alone in the mountains on co-op and I had nothing to entertain me but Read or Die TV that was already on my hard drive, Gunslinger Girls, and a bunch of NES ROMs. So I started playing pretty much every NES ROM one by one as far as I could stand to. And when I hit Kirby's Adventure, I played through that entire game.
Did you get all the secrets, though?
I think I did.
There's a lot of them, and they're really cool secrets. And
I played
some of them are really tricky. Like this one level where you have to swallow 2 fireball bad guys to get a hammer, and then get somewhere without getting hit, and then use it. It's all really good stuff.
I played it every day for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, the bosses are also really fun.
And
the
of
final
course,
boss is awesome.
The last game that is on the Virtual Console, a game that a lot of people hate or had a lot of difficulty with, and even I
had mad difficulty with it, even though I like it.
I never, ever legitimately beat this game, or in fact got past the second level without cheating.
I never got past the second level without cheating. I barely can get past the first level. Like, if I tried to play it today, I can't beat the first level most times.
Kid Icarus, which I owned and sold and then bought again.
My cousin owned it. I played it a few times. Other than that, I never really played it, just because it was so hard at his house. There was no way that I was going to pay money for a game that I would never get anywhere in.
I mean, Kid Icarus is very similar to Metroid, except it's 1,000 times harder.
And doesn't have really the exploring of Metroid. It's sort of like just go forth, Angel.
No. It's 2 types of games, remember. You didn't play it far enough.
That is true.
Because, there's 3 types of games. You start off, and it's an up-scrolling, if you fall down, you die game.
Yep.
Platformer. Up-scrolling platformer. Then, it's a side-scrolling platformer.
Yep.
And it's an up-scrolling platformer again. And littered throughout are the labyrinths, which are basically a Metroid.
Yep.
And it's just this
isn't there side-scrolling shooting later on?
On the very, very end of the game,
Yeah.
it becomes a shmup.
Yep. It's a lot of games in one. You're this guy named Pit, who's sort of like an angel type of thing. Cherub, something like that.
Yeah, you're a little angel. I mean, I could go... The plot of Kid Icarus, if you read the instruction book, is actually more than a lot of anime I've seen.
Well, yeah. It's really good. It's a game that's been forgotten. It never got any sequels or anything. Pit, the main character, is going to be in Smash Brothers Brawl, so you should get familiar with him. Now, the thing about this Virtual Console release, if you've never played Kid Icarus, it might be worth $5. However,
Icarus fights Medusa Angel, packing, 8 followed by as many lowercase u's as you can fit.
yeah, well, if you didn't know, back in the day, Zelda 1 was like one of the first games to have a battery in it where you could save your game on the cartridge.
Well, in the U.S.
In the U.S., that's right. Every other game, like Metroid, or what are the games? Faxanadu.
Kid Icarus. Metal Gear.
Yeah, all these games, you couldn't save your game. You got a password, and you would type the password in. You would write the password down on paper, and then you would type it into the game, and it would bring you back to where you left off, or to where you got the password.
Now, usually the way the passwords actually worked is basically they turned your piece of paper into a very small memory card where the password was actually all the data of what stuff you had and what level you were on and what your score was or whatever data they needed to save. When you typed it in, you were just telling the game to give me all of this stuff and start me at this point.
Yeah, and you would buy books or magazines just to learn passwords that would bring you to the end of the game with everything, like Punch-Out, the Mike Tyson password.
Some games, like one Mega Man game, I forget which one, where you have the dot passwords, I figured out how the passwords worked a little bit by experimenting. Like, I'd get an energy tank, and I'd save the game and see what the password was, and I figured out how to always give myself another energy tank.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Well, that's because that game didn't have so rigorous checksum.
Later Mega Mans had much more difficult password systems, but yeah. Anyway, in this virtual console release of Kid Icarus, they have taken out the password system, so you can only play the game straight through. You can't just go to the end with all the weapons or anything like that.
Well, how do they do it? Can you save your game?
I don't know if you might be able. I don't know.
Because this might be interesting. Because I mean, obviously we don't know the full details because we didn't buy it. But I got to read up more. But if they give you, what they might have done is given us, instead of the NES version, which was kind of gimped, they might have given us the FDS version from Japan, which not only had battery save games, it had better music like all those FDS games did.
Yeah. The only thing I can say, though, is for gaming purists, possibly like us, this is sort of sad because now all our passwords and our retro cool is no longer there.
Yeah, I mean, Icarus Fights Medusa Angel is engraved. Those sacred words are ingrained into my head for all eternity.
However, Nintendo was wise and good enough to that when you go into the Nintendo Wii store to buy this game, it says in text before you pay money, the passwords in the original are not in this game. So you know what you're buying before you buy it. So it's not like a surprise. You bought it without the passwords. Ha ha ha. It's, this doesn't have the passwords. Are you still going to buy it? And that's cool that they actually bothered to tell you.
Good on them.
Yep.
So I defy any of you out there to legitimately beat Kid Icarus in any reasonable span of time.
Someone's going to do it. I'm sure there's speed runs, but whatever.
Hey, I was a hardcore Nintendo gamer as a kid. And Kid Icarus, that's one of the few games where I would, halfway through playing, just start yelling obscenities and pull the game out and throw it across the room.
I just died and gave up and played something else.
One time, I got the credit card in the game.
It's not as hard as Silver Surfer.
And the credit card, I was so happy. He's like, I can finally afford something, because I could never afford dick. You know, I'd be fighting monsters and getting 1,000,000 hearts, and I thought I was doing great. And then I'd get to a store, like the first store in the game, and I'd have like 100 hearts. And that took me an hour to get. And I go into that door, and the cheapest thing the guy's selling is like 800 hearts.
Yeah, how are you supposed to get 800 hearts by then?
You want to know how you're supposed to do that? One, you have to do all those challenge rooms. You know those rooms you went into that was full of monsters that killed you immediately?
No, I just remember rooms I would go in that were full of monsters, and I knew that I was supposed to do something in there, but I had no idea what the hell to do.
Yeah, you know what? Kill them all. They're worth a lot of money.
I would kill them all, and it still wouldn't do anything for me.
Well, no, they all drop the big hearts, which are worth more than one heart.
Oh, all right.
And also, you can sometimes get bonuses and all that. But what you're supposed to
You
do...
go into rooms, they'd be like empty. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do in here?
Well, sometimes you could stand in the middle and jump up and down and stuff would happen.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of secrets in that
There's
game.
a lot of weird shit like that that makes the game kind of arbitrarily more difficult.
I mean, part of it was that the game was glitchy like Metroid, and part of
Even
it...
more glitchy.
And it was glitchy in the same way.
Yes,
and
it was
part
just
of it
more glitchy in the same way.
Was that the game put a lot more complexity than a game of that caliber warranted, and it didn't really document any of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, you know how you made all that money? You sit there at the beginning of the game where those 5 cute little snakes will fall down, and you shoot them all, and they give you a few hearts. And then 5 more will fall down, and you shoot them all. And 5 more will fall down, and you shoot them all.
If anyone sits there shooting the first 5 snakes in the game until you get like 1,000 hearts, why didn't you just play World of Warcraft? You've been better off.
So I got
That's coming from me.
So I got the credit card, and I got it, and it lets you buy something if you don't have enough money. And I'm like, hot diggity damn. And I bought something, and the credit card went into debt, and now I couldn't buy anything until I paid off the debt. And like 2 hours later, I wasn't even close to paying off the debt, and the item was long since useless. And oh god.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so there have been some rumors going around lately, so I want it to be
rumors
clear.
Going round.
I want it to be very clear that everything I'm going to say is completely rumored and could be just bullshit. Whatever.
Yep. For example, Scott is intelligent.
Yeah. Anyway, the rumors all concern the possibility of Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition.
Now, I have one response to that, if it's true, and that is me standing in front of Hasbro going, ha, 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 ha. You expect me to pay money to you again? You have all my money.
Yeah. Well, no, we didn't give them that much money when you really think about
it. Back in the day, I bought a lot of 2nd edition D&D books.
That's true.
I have probably $800 worth of various books for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Anyway, Here's some of the rumors.
Especially if you count all the back issues of Dragon magazine I bought and didn't read.
Yep. Yeah, one rumor says it'll be announced this year and released next year. Another rumor says it'll be announced this year and released in 2009 or like 2011 or something crazy like that.
Well, the thing is, D&D 3rd Ed is good in a lot of ways and bad in a lot of ways. Whatever. D&D 3.5 Ed it felt mostly like a money grab, and it annoyed me. And the only reason I have a 3.5 edition book is because my current player's handbook is falling apart to the point of being
because
unusable.
you don't know how to take care of your D&D PHPs. I think you harass them on purpose.
See, Scott, you say that, except I only had one PHP that looked like that ever. And in fact, all my second ed books are pristine. For some reason, the cover of that book just fell off right away through no fault of my own.
Because you removed the CD.
What, you mean that cursed seal?
Yes. Anyway, another rumor says that Wizards/Hasbro might spin off, drop the D&D product, like the whole D&D thing from them. And some people are saying, oh, they're going to keep 3rd Ed going and they're going to bring 4th Ed alongside and not get rid of 3rd Ed. Some people say 4th Ed's going to replace 3rd Ed over time and all sorts of crazy stuff.
I submit that it doesn't matter anymore. And with the advent of the internet, once someone knows the rules to a role-playing system, you don't need to buy anything from the company anymore at all.
Yep.
I mean, there was no internet back in the day. I bought D&D books because that was the only way to get all these rules and all this material, and I wasn't about to write it on my own, and I didn't have the wealth of the internet.
I think it's like with a board game or something like that, or the video game, you need to have a physical thing to play the game. With a role-playing game, all you need is knowledge of the rules. I mean, because all they're really selling you is a rule book. Imagine if Monopoly didn't need a board, pieces, or paper money or anything. All you needed to know was the rules of Monopoly. You could read the rule book of Monopoly once, get rid of it, and you can play Monopoly whenever.
I've run into some poor people who, when they like German games but they can't afford them, they'll find out the rules, recreate them, and play them. And actually, we did that once with Liar's Dice.
We did do that. Liar's Dice is not really German. It's not a complicated game. You're supposed to make Liar's Dice.
Yeah, but our making was so ghetto.
It was a ghetto making. But anyway, with an RPG, once you know the rules, there's no reason to really buy anything. All you need is paper, pencils, and dice.
Now, then again, what you can buy and what there's a good market for are supplements and story ideas.
And that's where they make all their money, is they sell you a book of spells. They're like, there's no way you can know all these spells. You need to buy the book. Ha ha ha.
Well, no, see, the thing is, what they used to do, a lot of the D&D books I have that I actually bought from back in the day include almost zero actual rules from the game, and they were mostly backstory, story ideas, character stuff, things to help you as a dungeon master or a player flesh out your game. And all those books are just as useful in 3rd Ed as they were in 2nd Ed, because I'm smart. If I need to come up with what this 2nd Ed character would look like in 3rd Ed, I can do it.
In about less than 10 minutes, you can change all the numbers without difficulty.
So I don't need to buy another book telling me about Elminster or Raistlin or whoever.
Yep. Now that actually brings us to the last rumor that I remember, is that D&D 4th Ed might be more miniatures centric. So it's like, I guess they realize, if this rumor is true, if they realize that selling the rules doesn't really work now because people get the PDF, learn the rules, and they don't need to give you any money, making it more miniature-centric, they can make money selling more miniatures to people. The D&D miniatures, I guess, has been pretty successful. I mean,
yep.
I don't play it, but I know some people who've bought the miniatures, and I see people who playing normal D&D who just have the miniatures, and I guess they're making some money off of them. So, hey, they're making more money off of them than they made off of chainmail or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, what have I bought from them in the past several years other than a new player's handbook?
Nothing by me.
In fact, the last thing I bought for Dungeons & Dragons, and I regret it to this day, was the book that was supposed to have the Blade Singer in it. Because I played this long campaign way, way back in high school where I played a Blade Singer, and it was a great campaign. And we didn't have rules for a Blade Singer in 3rd Ed, so we made something up. It worked okay. And I was kind of excited about the official thing. I was going to remake the character and see how it worked. So I bought the book. On my way home, I got home, and I opened the book. The Blade Singer in the book was broken. It was full of typos and missing all the information. I I was flabbergasted. The store wouldn't take the book back. They published for free online the corrected Blade Singer like a week later. And pretty much from that day forth, I just wouldn't buy anything from them anymore.
Yeah, well, here's my personal suggestion to people. If all these rumors are BS, then whatever. Just keep role-playing however you want. If any of these rumors are true and 4th edition D&D starts to rear its ugly head, buy Burning Wheel and pretend it's 4th edition.
Yeah.
Okay? Cool.
Or, I don't know, Inspectors.
Inspectors, I don't think is a replacement for D&D. That's sort of a, if you have Inspectors and you have Burning Wheel, you don't really, I couldn't see many other role-playing systems that you would need to have.
Well, the only thing Burning Wheel lacks currently for us, and we haven't bought more recent books, is high magic. Like, Burning Wheel doesn't work for the Forgotten Realms setting.
I don't think the Magic Burner is available. Well, there's also Burning Empires, which is the sci-fi instead of the fantasy.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying the only thing we can't do with Burning Wheel easily right now is a Forgotten Realms kind of high magic setting without a lot of tweaking.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. But we've talked about Burning Wheel. We'll talk about it again in the future. Someday we'll actually play it on our own more than once shittily at 3 a.m.
Yeah. We're also going to we'll probably play more Inspectors sooner. We could probably do an episode on that eventually. Maybe I can get that guy on the show. He's really awesome.
Things of the day. I had some video game thing, but I had to talk about this. Apparently, this company is putting out a product called Horntones FX550.
The what?
Now, well, what this does is a little box that you put in your car and you hook it up to a bunch of other things. And it has a spot for a USB flash drive where you can get files off of it.
All right.
And it allows you to save up to 8 files, audio files, on it.
If any, I guess as much as you can fit on the USB flash drive.
Well, you take the flash drive out. That's just to put them on it. Doesn't say how long they can be.
Uh-huh.
Now, what it does is it ties this into your car's horn, and now you can tell your horn to, when you honk it, either honk or, I don't know, play a funny wave file. Aside from the fact that this is illegal in most states.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
I mean, we live in New York, and I don't know how many people who listen to this show, considering how many Australian and British, Albionic listeners we have. But in New York City, there are a lot of places where there is a $350 to $500 fine if you honk your horn.
Well, if you honk your horn when you're not supposed to. I mean, if someone's about to hit you and you honk the horn, that's a cop's not going to give you a ticket.
Yeah, but legally, the rules for honking horns in the U.S., especially in urban areas, are actually really strict.
Yeah.
The
written law is much stricter than the enforced law.
Let alone modifying your horn to play an MP3.
No, modifying your horn or not having a horn, you won't pass inspection with a modified horn. There's no way.
You realize that when they inspected my car, they didn't check the horn.
A real full inspection.
It was theoretically. They actually checked everything else. They found my broken front control arm.
Yeah.
Which I knew about because the car wasn't turning so well.
Oh, it reminds me, I need an inspection pretty soon. I'll go next week. But anyway, yeah, I could see some funny uses for that one. Like, I don't know, the sound of an ambulance.
Yeah, because that's not illegal.
Right. Maybe like, a gangster going, "Coppers never catch me alive." Something like that.
I don't know. I'd probably have something along the lines of put down that cell phone and pay attention, or turn on your goddamn headlights.
Oh, turn on your goddamn headlights. I would put that in there for sure.
I was driving home from work today, and I passed probably, I could exaggerate and say like 100 people, but instead I'll say the actual number. Like 99 people who just didn't have their headlights on or had their parking lights on, despite the fact that it was dark.
If you're not in a parking lot, do not turn on your parking lights. God. All right.
Anyway, this product has bad idea written all over it.
It also has awesome entertainment for Scott written all over it.
I'll bet in the end it's going to have videos on YouTube written all over it.
I bet you in the end there's going to be a local news story about these things saying, "Oh, danger on the highway, something." Anyway, I got a little theme going this week, and I started it off yesterday with some old awesome jazz. And I was going to continue it today with some more old awesome jazz, but instead, I got some sort of modernish jazz, if you will. this video just came up out of nowhere almost of an idea that I've had for a long time, which was make a robot that plays an actual music instrument. I mean, we've had MIDI instruments for a while where a computer sends digital information to a digital instrument, and the digital instrument is then played like a player piano is played. But no one's really made, like, a robot that you attach to, say, an actual acoustic guitar, and then the robot strums it and fingers it.
See, the difficulty here comes down to how you interface with the instrument. I mean, a piano, a robot that plays the piano would be easy. All you have to do is hit the keys, hard or soft, and manipulate the pedals.
Yeah, I think there probably were piano-playing robots, but that's not the point.
Yeah, but like a trumpet-playing robot's real hard, because not only do you have to do the keys and everything, but you've got to simulate human lips.
Yeah, not easy.
Not easy at all. I mean, I have enough trouble simulating good trumpet-playing human lips with my actual trumpet-playing human lips.
Yeah. Anyway, we have here's a video of a robot that plays a saxophone.
It's pretty impressive and a little scary looking.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the music that comes out of the saxophone is sort of emotionless because it's the same exact blowing for every note. So it's very mechanical sounding.
Yeah, there's no vibrato or anything. But...
Yeah. However, it's a real saxophone being played by a robot, and it's playing a John Coltrane solo, like, to the T, like, as the music is written, you know. Doesn't sound so great because it's a robot playing it, but that'll get better in time. There's no reason the robot couldn't play it in a way that sounds good to people.
I look forward to the day where you can record, I mean, like we do now, you set up a system somehow to record a great musician playing a thing. And then instead of playing an audio file or, you know, some sort of recording of this band playing, you have a stage with all these robots, and they just perfectly recreate whatever the band played with actual instruments.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what kind of recorded audio you have, recording is lossy by definition, you know? If you put a microphone right up next to, like, a violin and record the violin master playing on the best violin, you can get it to sound good enough to where someone couldn't tell the difference, but it's still not the same.
It's not absolutely perfect just by the fact that a lot goes on in audio. I mean, subtle vibrations here and there, and audiophiles like to BS about all that stuff. But the fact remains that it's very difficult to argue that people couldn't tell the difference between a live performance and a recorded one.
Yeah, if I got you a super audio CD, which is just about as goddamn good a recording as you can get of an orchestra doing a whole symphony, and I played it for you on like a $30,000 sound system, that would sound damn good. But then if I took you to the orchestra, it would still be better.
Well, hopefully. It could be worse if the acoustics of the theater were bad. Or
I guess it, yeah. I'd hope that the orchestra would be better, at least the way it feels. But if you just had the instruments and you somehow recorded the actual movements of the people in the orchestra, like how they move their arms and their lips and how much they blow, and you had robots copy what they did, you could actually recreate the symphony as it was played in the orchestra in your house if you had enough room for all those robots. And that's pretty cool. Just one of Scott's crazy ideas that actually came to fruition somehow.
Yeah. So as long as we don't get the power to stop time, everything's still okay.
Yep.
All right. So we haven't talked about board games in a while because we've been playing a lot of other games.
Mostly DS and Wii games.
Though we have been playing a lot of board games, just not board games we really needed to review. Though now, just before this, we busted out a bunch of old board games, forgot how much we liked them. But
yeah, it is definitely DS season, though.
Up until very recently, however, I had been on a far longer than should have been winning streak at German board games. I was winning a sickly disproportionate number.
That might have something to do with us playing a lot of Carcassonne.
Well, not just Carcassonne, but also Entdecker. We were playing tile laying games where it's pretty much my undisputed domain.
Yeah, Rim likes the tile laying games.
Yeah, I don't like them so much. I'm just good at them. Kind of like how you're good at Web of Power, even though you hate it.
Well, you don't hate Carcassonne.
No.
I don't like Web of Power.
True. But finally, it was brought to a bitter end where we brought out El Grande, a game that I'm pretty good at, and Alex won. And then we busted out, what else did we play?
The game we're going to talk about.
All right, the game we're going to review, because it's Geeknights, and we review board games occasionally.
The game we're going to talk about today is Thurn and Taxis. Now, Thurn and Taxis has been pretty hot stuff lately, and this is why. First of all, it won the Spiel des Jahres in 2006. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what the Spiel des Jahres is, it's German for Game of the Year. And they give it out every year to the Game of the Year.
Think it's like the equivalent of the Oscar for Best Picture.
That's pretty much what it is. If a board game wins Spiel des Jahres, that's holy shit, that's the fucking game this year.
We own most of the Spiel des Jahres in recent memory.
Well, yeah, except for that weird towery one with the wood pieces, but yeah. Now, the game is designed by Andreas Seyfarth. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
Yeah, he's one of our men.
Yeah, and his wife, Karen Seyfarth.
Really?
Now, yes. Now, another game by Andreas Seyfarth also won the Spiel des Jahres. That game would be Puerto Rico, the best board game ever.
Yes.
So the fact that Andreas Seyfarth wins another Spiel des Jahres means that this game is probably hot stuff.
And you know what? It is. I mean, it's not the best game in the world.
It's not the best game in the world.
Because you really, Tigers and Euphrates and Puerto Rico, for the longest time, nothing has unseated those two in terms of best game and most fun game.
But this game sort of combines like all the hot trends in recent German board game design very perfectly into just one game.
Yes, it very specifically takes elements that I like that you never really see these elements in the same game, and here they are. Very elegantly done. Yep.
All right, now how did I get this game? I was in the city, and there's a store there called Complete Strategist, Compleat Strategist. And I always knew it was there, but I didn't know exactly physically where it was. But I wrote down the address, and I went there. Now, I expected it to be, holy crap, a game store in New York City? This must be the greatest game store ever. Well, I went in there, and it looks, with my eyeballs, like the typical scuzzy game store. And I'm like,
You know what those stores are. They're all smelly.
Yeah,
There's the stains.
The reason I didn't leave immediately was it actually didn't smell. I was quite surprised.
Wow.
Because my eyes told me this store would smell, but my nose didn't smell anything. Maybe it's because the street outside smells, so the inside does not have much different. I don't know. But it didn't smell. And the employees were nerdy, but intelligent and helpful. And I must say, though, for as small and kind of really crammed in this store is, I mean, physical space was at a loss in this store. There were no tables to play games or anything like that I saw. But the stock of this store was phenomenal. They had games up to the ceiling. Every game you could think of was there, from like the oldest to the newest. And games that other stores have like 0 or maybe 1 copy of, if you're lucky. They had like 10 copies of or more. It was crazy out of control. And most of the games were sold not at super low prices, but not overpriced either. I mean, I got Thurn and Taxis for 30-something bucks. It's, it's only a few dollars more than I would have paid online, and after shipping, it was probably like $1 cheaper.
Yeah, plus, I mean, that's what board games cost. You can't get them cheap unless you have a friend who buys games on impulse and then decides he doesn't like them.
Or a friend who makes games. Yeah. So the American release of this game is by Rigo Grand, who is quite a good bringer of board games to America.
Yep, pieces are all high quality. Box is nice, what can I say?
Yeah, the box has a lot
There's good panning across the center channel.
There's a lot of extra room in the box for like more stuff, and I think that as expansions come, that might be good because you can fit it in there. The only really complaints I have about the physicalness of this board game are that there's these cards that they're kind of small and they're not super durable, and you use them a lot. So over time, they might get kind of worn out. But
yeah, they're pretty much the whole game.
It's not really a big deal when you get right down to it. And the price is right for what you get. The wooden houses I also like. They're very nice. So, what kind of game is Thurn and Taxis?
It's kind of like Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, Ticket to Ride has the card drawing mechanism where there are face-up cards and also a face-down deck. And on your turn, you can take face-up cards or face-down cards. You take from those cards. And Thurn and Taxis is the same way. There will be 6 face-up cards and a face-down deck. And you can take cards from the face-up or from the deck.
Now, it also has this element of you're trying to make paths among all these cities on the board. The board is basically a map of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
With all these cities, and the cities are in different zones of different colors, and they all have names, and you're trying to make routes along, contiguous routes from city to city to city, point to point along the roads to accomplish various goals.
Yeah, no, I can't even begin to count how many games involve connecting nodes on a map.
Yep, but one primary difference that in this game, you make the routes with cards that you lay in front of you instead of on the map. And you can't block other players. So another player moving around the board does not directly influence you moving around on the board.
Yeah, now this playing cards in front of you to make a set reminded me a lot of Mare Nostrum that we played. Didn't we do a show on it?
I don't know if we actually did.
No, we played it once at UberCon, so I don't know if we know enough about it to play a show on it. But that's what it reminded me a lot of, because in Mare Nostrum has the same thing, where you get cards and you kind of make sets of cards in front of you by playing them in sequence.
So I'll have a card of one city, and then I look and I have, a card of a city that on the board is next to it. So on my turn, when I play the next city, I can just play it on either side, like on next to the card that would be on the board. So in the end, I'll have a chain in front of me that if I follow that chain on the board, it makes a contiguous line.
Yep. Now, the other thing about this game is that there are 4 guys, right? And the guys are basically special powers. One guy lets you draw more cards. One guy lets you play more cards. One guy lets you score more when you score. And one guy lets you take the 6 cards that are face up and flush them down the drain and draw 6 new ones, which is he's the fun guy.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of the game where, especially if you're playing with a bunch of people and, someone's planning ahead, like, all right, I need this card, and oh, yeah, that card came up on Scott's turn. In 2 turns, it's mine. And then on Alex's turn, he says, you know what? Fuck this. I'm flushing it. No!
You basically just can't look at what's going on until it's your turn.
Except
Kinda
you have to, because
you do have to.
Another trick of this game is that, you play these cards from the deck in order to go around on the board. There are only 3 cards for each city on the board.
That's right.
So, like at one game we were playing, and one city, all 3 of them came up right away, and no one picked them up, and then they got flushed. So all of us now, while we're playing the game, we know that until the deck runs out and gets reshuffled, there is no way to build anything in that city.
That's right. Yeah, and especially if you play with more players, it gets even more tricky, because then people will be drawing more cards that are face down, and thus you'll have less information. You'll have imperfect information about what cities are out there. And
but at the same time,
what's in people's hands.
The deck will cycle faster, so you have more odds of getting the cards you need.
That is true. I did notice that. That's something great about this game, actually, is that if you can play it with 2, 3, or 4 players, and no matter what, you don't have to change the rules at all.
That's a rare game. Most games require some modification.
Yeah, and that's why I think this game is so perfect. I mean, you look at Ticket to Ride, and it's got the drawing mechanism, and you look at Mare Nostrum as the card playing in a row mechanism, but all those games are they're not 100% clean, yet somehow this game takes all those mechanisms and combines them into one game, and it's perfectly clean across the board. You don't have to change a damn thing whether you're playing with 2, 3, or 4 players. That is phenomenal. I mean, you don't have to change the amount of starting money because there isn't money. You have to change how many cards people start with. Everyone starts with no cards. It's just, there it is.
And the turn order, aside from the special abilities, which really simple, there's the 4 of them, and you just pick one every turn.
Yep.
And whichever one you pick, then whenever you do that thing, you get the bonus. Basically, it's draw a card, play a card.
And then if you want, score what you've already played total.
Yep, and there's a lot of nice tricks about that, too. I mean, you play a card. Once you've got at least 3 cards in a route, at any point, once you've made 3, well, technically once you've made 2, because you make the 3rd one, and then you can score it. When you play a card, on that turn, you can then say, after you play that card, I now choose to score this. You score it, and then those cards flush out, you discard your hand down to 3, and you begin again.
So now here's the thing I really like about this game. On your turn, you must draw one, and you must play one, and you may score, right? So if you don't score, then the route you're currently building just kind of stays in front of you. Then the next turn comes around. You must draw. Well, drawing's never a problem. There's always cards for you to take. You must play. Now, you can add a city to the right side of your route or the left side, because all your cards are played in a horizontal row. So whatever card is rightmost in your route, you have to put something adjacent to that. Or whatever card is leftmost, you have to play something adjacent to that.
Yep, you can't build up, you can't build down. It has to be one non-branching line.
Yep. Now, what if you must play? You must play a card. If you can't play a card that adds to your route, you have to get rid of that route. And then you put another card. You start a new one by putting a card down. So if you decided not to score the route last turn, you get to the next turn and you can't add anything to it, you'll lose it.
which is good and bad. I mean, on one hand, you fucked yourself. If that happens to you, you're probably going to lose this game.
It's depending on how big the route you lose. I mean, you might lose one card. You put down one, the next turn comes around, you get rid of it, you put down another
But
one.
also, it's a nice mechanic where if you've built a dead-end route that's not going anywhere, it forces you to cut and run and get back into the game.
Yep. It's also adds this sort of building risk as your routes get longer. It's like unless you have the cards you need already in your hand, you can choose to gamble and sort of try to flush the cards to see more of them, to try to get the card you need to make your route that little bit longer. But that's a big risk. If you don't get the card, you might lose the whole route if you don't have it in your hand already. So it sort of gives you this chance to maybe win with incredible luck, or play it safe and only continue a route if you know you can keep it going because you've got the cards in your hand already.
Now, nicely, and this is something I really like about the game too, just because it's so different from all the games I'm used to. I mean, the era of board games that we play the most are the ones where around the edge of the board there's some sort of victory track thing.
Yep.
And you count up victory points going across.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those other kinds of games where you count up get at the end. The end of the game, you score all the stuff in front of you.
But you know what I really like, though, is that scoring this game takes like 2 seconds.
Yep.
It's like other games.
Granted, sometimes there are some games where I love the suspense of, I don't know if I won or not.
That's true, but this game still has the suspense. The suspense just doesn't last very long because everyone counts in like less than 30 seconds. As opposed to spending a minute counting, which I always actually kind of found annoying, having to count and then recount if you're not sure. What kind of game has that? Puerto Rico actually kind of has that.
Well, that's just as a rule, no matter how simple a board game is, and pretty much actually not just in board games, in my entire life, if I ever have to count anything, I always count it twice.
Yep,
just
that's true.
Automatically by instinct.
But you know what? In Thurn and Taxis, I only have to count it once because it's just so simple.
Oh no, but I count twice anyway. It's kind of like
I've counted twice once.
It's like my own internal error checking. Where,
Yep.
Because if by chance I don't get the same result, then
Yep.
something's wrong with my brain or something's wrong with this counting.
Yeah, but anyway, the way you score in Thurn and Taxis is, well, first, there are these chits on the board that you can get for attaining certain goals.
It's kind of like in Through the Desert, where when you do certain things, you take a chit with a number of points on it right away and put it in front of you.
For example, there are 3 purple cities on the board. If you get a house in every one of the purple cities, there's a stack of chits. And each of them is worth a certain number of points. The one on top of the stack is worth 3 points. So if you get a house in every purple city, you take the top chit from the stack. That's worth 3 points. Now the top chit on the stack is worth 2 points. So if you're the second person in the game to get a house in every one of the purple cities, you get 2 points. And you just collect these little chits as you achieve these goals throughout the game. And they're actually worth a lot of points, and you add them up.
Yep.
1 point is a big deal in this game.
Yes, but the thing is also, because, there's the diminishing returns of if someone else gets something, it's now worth less to everyone else. But the difference is only 1 point in each one. So being the first one to everything is really not a feasible goal.
It's really more about getting more stuff and not always getting it first.
Yeah, so you want to get some things first in order to get the 5 points instead of the 4. Mm-hmm. And you want to get all the rest of the stuff. Like, you pick a few things you're going to get first. Everything else you plan on getting before the end of the game just to get some points.
Yep.
It's like, I get the thing that's worth 5 points.
It's like I won the most recent game by picking up something at the last second. That was pretty small, like 3 points.
Yeah, and you won by just that little bit. If you hadn't gotten that, I would have won.
That's right.
But you did it, and you did it well. But say Scott gets the 5 point thing. Now, my goal is not, maybe I want to get the 4 or the 3 point thing to mitigate, so now he doesn't get as many points in the differential.
Yep.
So he gets the 5. I squeak by with a 3 at the end to mitigate some of his 5. So effectively, his thing was only worth 2. So if you're able to do something that other players aren't able to do, you're hugely ahead. Or if you're unable to do something that all the other players did, you're hugely behind.
Yep. Now, here's the other way is to get points. There are these carriages, a 3, 4, 5, a 6, and a 7 carriage. Now, that looks, when you first read the rules of the game, you think that these carriages are where the game is at, Because if you make a route, you start out the game with no carriages. If you make a route that is at least 3 cities large, you can take the 3 carriage. Then you have to get the 4 carriage. you can't jump to the 5 or to the 7 right away.
Yeah, so if you build 7 routes that have 7 cards each, you get the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7 each time you build one in order.
Yeah, you can't just get the 7 right away. If your first route is 7 cards, you get the 3. If your next route is 8 cards, you get the 4.
Yep, now some of the bonus chits are things like make a route that's 6 long.
Yep.
So you can get the 6.
Yeah, you can get more points, but yeah.
And the game ends when either you have put all your houses on the board, which we'll get to the cool mechanic about that, but basically you put houses along all the routes you've made, and if someone gets the 7 card.
Yeah, see, it looks at first like, hey, I want to build bigger routes and I want to build them faster than anyone else. That way I can get all the carriages and get the 7 carriage, which is worth the most points. But really, when you actually play the game, you realize that the carriages are more of a timer than they are a scoring mechanism.
Yeah, like everyone's going to get the 5, maybe even the 6 carriage.
Unless you're stupid.
Yeah, so you don't really need to blitz the carriages unless you're trying to end the game, and even then, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
What people tend to do is it's like when you're doing a standardized test and you look over at someone's paper, not to see what their answers are. You're not trying to cheat, but to see how far along they are as a gauge of how far along you should be.
Yep. It's like, if other people are multiple carriages ahead of you, that means the game is close to an end and you haven't been making that many routes, or you've been making way too many small routes and not really doing anything productive. So the game will punish you for lagging behind everyone else, but it won't really punish you for not getting the 7 because only your biggest carriage counts. So if you get the 6 carriage and someone else gets the 7, you get 7 points and they get 10. It's only a 3-point difference. And the game will come down to all those chits. Now, the final bit of score is the houses. You have all these houses, and you want to get these houses on the board. And every house you don't get on the board when the game is over is minus 1 point.
Now, usually this only comes down to being like 2 or 3 points by the end because everyone will generally have all their houses out. But in the most recent game, one of the things that fucked me was I made a great route at the end, and it brought me right within an inch of beating Scott. But then I had a couple more houses than him.
Yeah, I had 1 house left at the end, just 1.
Yep, and I had 3 because the route I made at the end was perfect, except that it overlapped one of my other routes, and I got to put 1 less house than I should have, and altogether it just,
Yeah, now this is how the houses work, right? Let's say I make a route, and the route contains 3 gray cities and an orange city.
See, the cities are all different colors, and like if you get all your houses of a certain color on the board, you get chits for those colors and all that.
Yeah, there are ways to get points with the colors. Anyway, I make a route. All the cities have to be adjacent, and all the cities have colors, and all the cities of the same color are near each other. So all the purple cities are adjacent and such, right? So let's say I make a route that is 3 gray cities and an orange city, and I score the route. In addition to doing all the other stuff you do when you score a route, you can decide to put houses either on all cities in the route of 1 color, which means so in this case, I would put a house on every gray city, but not the orange one. Or one city for 1 house for each city of a color in the route. So I would do 1 house in orange and 1 in gray.
And you get to pick which one in gray.
You get to pick which one of the gray cities you put the house in. So usually I would pick to do gray because that's 3 houses versus 2.
But maybe you're not going to get the gray chit anyway. It's near the end of the game, and getting that orange the house on that orange city is going to get you the orange chit.
Yep.
That's worth far more points than nothing.
Or maybe I've already got houses in some of those gray cities and I don't need any more. So you can't put more than 1 house per city. So if you've already got a house somewhere, then you don't need to put a house there anymore. So you can use the city as part of a new route, but it won't help you put a house there because you've got one. So there's no point. So yeah, it's pretty cool. You're trying to get as many houses on the board as you can, but sometimes you make routes where, you make a route of 6 cities in a row, but you can only put down maybe 3 houses. So it's pretty easy to make big routes. It's difficult to make big routes where you can put down houses on every city in the route.
And while there is a lot of randomness at first, like when you first start playing the game, it's like you'll have a master stroke and like, oh, I'm getting all the cards I want, or I didn't get the cards I needed at all. but the randomness really is mitigated by the fact that the game is the perfect length. Like, I've never seen someone in all the times we've played it so far, including myself, have bad luck or good luck that was not evened out by opposite luck before the end of the game. And It really comes down to skill. It's not really a random game as far as we can tell.
I mean, there was one game we played that had a big asterisk on it because we messed up a bunch of rules, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, you and Alex messed up a bunch of rules.
Yeah, we did.
I was sipping wine in another room.
Yeah, but later on, it's like at first, when we started playing the game and I wasn't really too good at it, I kind of felt like, oh, I'm not getting the cards I want, I lose. Or, aha, I got all the cards I want, watch this, and I would win. But now that we've had more experience after playing 5 or 6 games, at one point I felt like I wasn't getting what I wanted, but I still managed to pull something out that scored enough houses and points. And when I did feel like I was getting everything I wanted, I did. But it wasn't a complete blowout amazing thing. It was just as good as what everyone else was doing. So, it might at first, when you're inexperienced, luck might have a larger factor. But once you know when to flush the cards down the toilet, when to draw 2, when to draw an unknown card, what to keep in your hand and what to play, the luck really kind of goes out of it. And it's all about what you know.
Overall, it's a really good game. I'd recommend it as always. It's fairly abstract, and it's one of those games that isn't extremely cut and dry to people who aren't used to German board games, I don't think. Yeah,
I don't know. If you're not a German board gamer, you might want to still stick with like Ticket to Ride or something like that as an or Settlers as the introductory game.
I mean, I hate to sound like one of those people like, oh, this is an advanced board game. It's not for you.
It is not as advanced as, Tigris and Euphrates or Puerto Rico or any of those really heavy games. So it does fill sort of that niche of the in-between. Like, you've played the beginning German board games like Carcassonne and Settlers and Ticket to Ride, but those are still, you're losing interest in them and you want something a little harder, but you don't need to jump off the deep end. I think that this game is like right in the sweet spot right there.
In fact, maybe it's just because we played it again recently, but it feels like it's at the same level of El Grande.
Mm-hmm.
And all those, because I remember we started with Settlers, and that was our first game, and we loved it and loved it and loved it. And then when we cut our teeth and we started, looking for better board games, we moved toward Entdecker and El Grande and all those games. And then eventually we ended up at Puerto Rico and Tigris and Euphrates.
Yep. Something else I really like about Thurn and Taxis is that not only is it 2, 3, and 4 player without changing any rules, but if everyone is experienced, setting up is really fast, playing is really fast, and cleaning up is really fast. You can just whip this thing out. Like, wow.
Yep, I mean, Ra has the same advantage, but Ra's not nearly as good a game.
No, Ra is fun. I don't know if it's as fun, but Ra is much more random. This is more fun than Ra, less random, and you're satisfied playing it. It's not too heavy, not too light, and it takes like a half hour if everyone knows what the hell they're doing. That's really cool. Oh, there are some misprints in the instruction book. Not misprints like broken rules, misprints like typos.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
that's the first edition printing. What do you want?
Yeah, well, also, if you look at the game, while the rules are printed in English, the game itself is obviously set up to be bilingual English and German. And I think that the German board gaming market in the U.S. is strong enough now. I mean, obviously, Germany's known because more and more of these games are coming over here by various means.
Mm-hmm.
But they know this game was going to be sold here, and they sold it here real quick compared to how games used to come over in the past. And I'll bet that they made it bilingual, and the only thing they had to reprint between the 2 editions now was the actual rule book.
Yeah,
so
they
saved
didn't
a bunch
have to
of
change
money.
the board. They didn't have to change the cards. They didn't have to change like the rule summary card thingies. All they changed was the actual rule book, and they designed the box, and they didn't really change anything else, and thus they were able to bring the game over really quickly. Of course, in the rush, there are some typos in the rule book, but big deal, the rules are still fine as written. It doesn't cause a problem.
Yep, and of course, last and certainly least, this game is one of the few German board games ever that's actually set in Germany.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because it's about the German post office and how it was created and all that stuff.
Yeah, we could talk about the theme of the game, but you guys have Wikipedia.
Yeah, the only real theme that the game has built in is that each city has sort of a building attached to the city that is the post that, it's like in this town, the post office is in a castle, and there's a picture of the castle, And then there's a little guide that tells you about all the buildings. It's like, oh, in that city, yeah, the post office was in the town hall.
Yeah, that part of the theme is definitely hacked on in the same way that in Railroad Tycoon they hack out all that stuff to teach you about locomotives.
Yeah, there's also like one like page worth of information about like Thurn and Taxis and the people who, the people in the olden days who actually started all this stuff and the history. And it's semi-interesting, I guess. It's not like a big history lesson unless you're super interested in German post offices. But there it is.
All right. So if this snowstorm doesn't kill us all, expect only one more normal Geek Nights this week, tomorrow, where we'll review some form of anime, manga, or comic, and Daryl Surratt will beg the question.
Oh,
actually,
pun.
I think it was Gerald.
Oh, pun.
And we'll have a special Thursday. Don't forget, if we didn't tell the story about us trying to get home from UberCon, we'll make that the special on Thursday. So let us know before tomorrow, because a special doesn't get recorded the day it gets put up. A special gets recorded in advance because we're out of town.
Hey, maybe if it actually snows tomorrow, we can record everything during the day.
Yeah.
Won't that be weird? We won't actually be recorded at night.
You realize this will be, if I don't go to work because of the snow, my first snow day since high school.
I think I had some snow days last year.
IBM was right there, so they never canceled anything. And one time I drove there in a blizzard and no one was in the office. And I didn't have anything better to do, so I just stayed at work playing around with stuff in the lab.
You mean Civ 2?
Oh no, only half Civ 2. The other half of the time, I actually worked on this project. But the thing is, I was building a big server, right? So it was hit enter on the giant WebSphere installer that's going to take 10 minutes.
And then hit enter to start the next turn.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.